You might be here because something strange has happened to you. Like you tried manifesting, and for a moment, it actually worked. Maybe money started moving. Maybe a relationship shifted. Maybe your health improved. Maybe signs appeared everywhere. And then just as quickly as it started, it stopped. Like everything stalled, or it reversed, or it just faded away. And the most frustrating part of this is that you know that it was working. You felt it. You saw the evidence. You thought that finally this all makes sense. And now you're sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? Let me give you just some examples of what this actually looks like. Like someone reaches out to you about a job opportunity, you feel excited, you feel aligned, like things are finally moving. Then 3 days pass with no follow-up, and suddenly you are back in anxiety. You're checking your phone, you're wondering if you scared it away somehow. What happened? You don't know. Maybe you were manifesting money and you received an unexpected payment. Like you felt abundant for a week, but then a bill arrives and it's much bigger than you expected. And immediately you just collapse back into, there's never enough. Or perhaps you were manifesting love and then someone incredible just enters your life. And the first few dates, they feel like magic, but then they take longer to text you back one day, and then your mind just spirals into, this always happens to me. I'm not good enough. Do you see what happened in each of these? Like the manifestation was moving, but you moved out of the state that was creating this. Now, I want to say this clearly at the start. You did not imagine it, and you did not lose anything. What happened is that something almost no manifestation teacher explains. You exited the state that created it. And this is the number one reason that most people come to me confused. They're discouraged and they are so ready to give up. They say that manifestation works sometimes, but it never sticks. And that's exactly the clue. Manifestation is not a one-time event. It's a state occupancy. Reality does not respond to what you want. If you've watched my other videos, you know this. It responds to who you are being. When something begins to manifest, it is because for a period of time, you were coherent. Your emotional state and your identity and your inner tone, they were all aligned with what you were trying to get. You're not forcing, you weren't chasing, you weren't even doubting. You were simply being. But then something happened. Life tested you. A bill arrived. A message didn't come through. Someone triggered an old pattern and fear crept back in, and you returned to your old identity. And reality followed you there. And this isn't punishment. This is just mechanics of manifestation. So let me slow this down and explain exactly what's happening. Now, most people think that manifestation stops because the universe changed its mind, or because they stopped visualizing, or because then they didn't believe hard enough. And none of that is true. Manifestation stops because the state that produced it is no longer active. And think of it like tuning a radio. Like when you're on the right frequency, the music, it plays clearly. And when you drift slightly, the station kind of like fades out. Now the radio Their radio didn't break. The signal hasn't disappeared. You just simply moved away from the frequency. And your life, it works the same way. When you were in a calm, grounded identity, reality reorganized to match it. Now, when you returned to worry or lack or had some emotional reaction, reality reorganized itself again. And this is why that people say things like, it almost happened. It was so close. Or I was right there. Because you were in the state. The manifestation was forming. And then you left. Now let me explain something that most manifestation teachers will never tell you, because they don't even understand it themselves. When you are in a state, you do not feel like you're actually doing anything. Like there's no effort, there's no strain, there's no trying. You just are. When someone is naturally confident, they don't wake up in the morning and affirm, I am confident. When someone is naturally abundant, they don't check their bank account with anxiety. They just operate from abundance. And this is what I mean by state occupancy. It's not something that you do for 5 minutes in the morning. It's something that you live from throughout the day. And this is where people get confused. They think, but I was in the state. I felt good. I was aligned. And then life happened. Yes, exactly. Life will always test your state. Because your state is not just about feeling good when nothing is challenging you. Your state is about who you are when things don't go as expected. So let me give you a real example. Now imagine that you're manifesting financial abundance. You do your visualization in the morning. You feel wealthy, you feel secure. You feel like money flows to you easily. And then at 10 o'clock in the morning, you get an email saying a payment that you were expecting has been delayed. Now, in that moment, you've got two choices. Choice one, you panic. You think, see, it's never working. Money never comes when I need it. I knew this wouldn't work for me. And in that moment, you excited the state of lack and you left the state of abundance. Like reality hears that signal and it responds accordingly. Choice two, you notice the trigger instead. You feel the fear arise, but you don't let it define you. You breathe, you ground, and you remind yourself that I'm abundant regardless of this delay. Money flows to me from multiple sources, and this is just one pathway. And you remain in the state. And reality hears that signal, and it continues to organize itself around abundance. So do you see the difference? The manifestation did not stop because the payment was delayed. The manifestation stopped because you let the state of the person for whom money flows easily go. And this is the truth that changes everything. You don't manifest by staying in the state. You manifest because you stay in the state. The state is the manifestation. When you are being abundant, you are abundant. The bank account is just lagging the reflection of it. When you are being loved, you are loved. The relationship is just that lagging reflection. When you're being healthy, you are healthy. The body is just that lagging reflection of that healthy. And this is why I say reality responds to who you are being, not what you want. Because what you want comes from who you are not being yet. Are you following me? I'll try to make this more simple. The wanting itself is evidence of the absence of the state. Now here's something that is even more important. Manifestation does not unfold in a straight line. And this is where people become despondent and they lose trust. They think that if I'm aligned today, then tomorrow it should appear. But in reality, things don't move like that from A to Z, not instantly. Sometimes, but they still go from A to Z. There are steps in between. There are other people, other circumstances, other timelines. These are all intersecting with your own timelines. Let me explain a little bit more clearly. Imagine that you are manifesting a new job. You hold the state of being employed in your ideal role. You feel fulfilled, you feel valued, you feel financially secure, and then you apply to a position that feels absolutely perfect. But you don't hear back. Now, most people would interpret this as it's not working. But what if that company is about to go through restructuring in a few months' time? What if the manager who would have hired you is about to leave? And what if there is a better position opening up at 2 weeks at a different company, but the person who is leaving has not handed in their notice yet? What if you needed to not get that first job so that you would still be available when the right one appears? You see, you don't have the full picture. You cannot see all the variables, but the universe can. And when you stay in the state, reality is reorganizing everything to bring you the outcome that matches your state in the most aligned way possible. And sometimes you need to arrive later than usual for the right person to be there. Sometimes someone else needs to change direction first, and sometimes the delay is required so that the path can align properly. If you'd have received one of the earlier jobs that you would have applied for, then your entire life might be different today. It would be different. But you did not, because the one that you eventually received required a sequence of events before it could exist. And manifestation works a bit like a Rubik's Cube. Easiest way to explain it. The end picture of all sides being the same color is already possible, but you can't force it without turning the sides in the right order. Now, the twists, they can look random, but they're not, they're necessary. Every turn that seems to scramble the colors up on the other side is actually positioning them for that final alignment. And that's why something can be manifested and still not physically visible yet. It is done in structure, but before it is done in form. Let me give you another analogy that I use that might make this a little bit clearer. I'm sure you've ordered something online. Imagine you're ordering something on the line. The moment you click or press purchase, that item is yours. It hasn't arrived at your door yet. It has to be picked up from the warehouse, packaged, loaded onto a truck, driven across the country or countries, sorted at a distribution centre, has to be loaded onto another truck and then finally delivered to your address. Now, during all of that, the item was always yours. You don't need to keep reordering it every single day because it hasn't arrived yet. You don't panic and think maybe that the order didn't go through. You just know that it's on its way. You trust the process. And this is the same energy that you need to hold with your manifestation. The moment you stabilized in the state, that order, it was placed. It's already yours. You are just waiting for the physical reality to catch up through the sequence of events that need to unfold. I want to share something personal here, especially for those who don't know my story yet. Now, when I consciously changed direction in my life, nothing happened all at once. Like, my health didn't heal overnight. My finances, they didn't stabilize immediately. And my relationships, my patterns of relationships, they didn't transform instantly. But the future version of me, who I am now, already existed. I was already on that path. I just had not yet arrived at the moment where I could open my eyes and see it all in front of me. There were months and years where the result had already happened, but the steps are still unlocking. When I was healing from cancer, there were weeks when I felt worse before I felt better. Like, the scans, they didn't show improvement immediately, but I held the state of being healed. I didn't let the current evidence override the identity that I was occupying. And eventually, reality caught up. Now, when I was rebuilding my finances after being in debt and too ill to work, there were months when money was still tight. There were bills that still arrived, unexpected expenses still appeared, but I held the state of being abundant. I didn't let the bank account override the identity that I was occupying, and eventually, reality caught up with me. When I was manifesting a healthy relationship after 30 odd years of choosing the wrong ones, there were moments of doubt, moments where old patterns tried to pull me back, and moments where I wanted to self-sabotage because love didn't feel safe yet. But I held the state of being loved. I did not let the fear override the identity that I was occupying. And eventually, reality caught up. And this is why patience is not passive. Patience is a state stability. If you stay in the state, reality has no option but to complete the path. The moment people collapse is when they think that delay means failure. It does not. Delay means rearrangement. Delay means other variables are still aligning. Delay means the universe is coordinating events that you just cannot see yet. But here's what I want you to understand. When you collapse out of the state that you should be in, when you return to doubt, to fear, to lack, unworthiness, you're not just pausing the manifestation, you're actively manifesting the opposite. Because you are always manifesting, no matter what you do. You are always broadcasting a signal. The question is not, is it working? The question is, what state am I broadcasting from? If you are broadcasting from lack, you manifest more evidence of lack in your life. If you are broadcasting from fear, you manifest evidence to be more afraid of things around in your life. If you are broadcasting unworthiness, you'll get evidence of not having enough. If you broadcast from love, you manifest more evidence of being loved. If you're broadcasting from worthiness, you manifest more evidence that you are enough. This is the mechanics. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is not pretending that everything is fine when it's not. This is just reorganizing your inner state that determines your outer reality, and not the other way around. Most people think, when I have this money, then I will feel abundant. No, you feel abundant now, and then money comes. And most people think that when I meet the right person, then I will feel loved. No, you feel loved now, and then the right person appears. Most people think that when my body heals, then I will feel healthy. No, you feel healthy now, and then the body follows. And this is the reversal that most people never make. They keep waiting for external reality to change first, but external reality is the reflection. You have to change the inner state first. And this brings us back to the core truth of manifestation mechanics. You do not lose manifestations. You leave the state. And the good news is this: you can return. You do not need to start over again. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to visualize harder. You just simply return to the identity that was present when things were moving. That identity is a calm, it's grounded, it's not chasing, it's not wanting, it's not waiting, it's not watching the clock. It trusts the process without needing the proof. So how do you actually do this? So how do you return to the state when life has pulled you out? Let me just give you a few practical steps. Step one, main thing is to notice that when you have exited the state that you should be in. This is the most important step, because most people don't even realize that they've just left. Most people don't. They just know that they feel bad and they don't know why. So start paying attention to your emotional tone throughout the day. When you notice anxiety, that is a signal that you have left the state. When you notice doubt, that is another signal that you have left the state. When you notice frustration, that's a signal that you've left the state. Just notice it. You don't need to judge it. You don't need to resist it. Just become aware. Step two, when you notice that you have exited the state that you should be in, don't try to force yourself back in. Usually doesn't work. Instead, just pause, take 2 or 3 slow breaths, place your hand on your belly, feel your body, ground yourself in the present moment. This interrupts the signal and it changes that spiral that you get yourself into. Step 3, then remind yourself who you are choosing to be. Not who you were being 5 minutes ago when the fear or whatever it was took over. You are choosing to be right now a certain person. So choose that. I am the version of me for whom money flows easily. I am the version of me who is deeply loved. I am the version of me whose body is healthy and strong. Not as an affirmation that you are trying to believe, as a decision about the identity that you are occupying. And step 4, return to what you were doing, but from that identity. Don't try to feel different. Don't try to force positivity. Just continue your day as the person you decide to be. Now, this is the practice. This is how you stay in that state throughout the day. Not by visualizing for 5 minutes and hoping it sticks, but by noticing when you leave, pausing when you notice, reminding yourself who you are choosing to be, and returning to your identity from that identity. Now, let me give you something even more powerful that I teach my private clients. And this is what takes state occupancy from theory into a living experience. Now, I call it embodying the state in ordinary moments. And it's simple, but it is profound. You bring the identity of who you are becoming into every single mundane moment that you can throughout your day, every activity. Let me explain. So if you are manifesting wealth, don't just visualize being wealthy for 5 minutes in the morning. Ask yourself throughout the day, how would I do this activity as the wealthy version of me? So you're drinking your morning coffee. How would you drink that coffee as someone who's financially abundant? Would you rush it whilst at the same time checking your phone anxiously? Or would you sit holding the cup with both hands, take a slow sip, and actually taste it? Would you drink it from a chipped mug, or would you take a moment to use your favourite cup? The wealthy version of you has time. They're not rushing, they're not anxious, they are present. So drink your coffee that way. You're walking in the park. How would you walk as someone who is financially secure? Would you be lost in worry about bills, or would you notice the trees, the light coming through the leaves, the sound of the birds? Would you walk quickly with your head down, or would you walk at a relaxed pace with your shoulders back and taking in your surroundings? The wealthy version of you is not burdened. They're not in survival mode. They are calm. So walk that way. You're eating lunch. How would you eat your lunch as someone who is abundant? Would you eat quickly, barely tasting, while scrolling through the news or bad news on social? Or would you eat slowly, savouring each bite, appreciating the meal in front of you? Would you feel guilty about the cost, or would you be grateful that you can nourish your body? The wealthy version of you does not eat from scarcity. They eat from satisfaction. So eat that way. Do you see what I'm showing you? State occupancy is not something that you do for 5 minutes. It's something that you live in ordinary, everyday moments. And the same applies to any state that you are trying to embody. If you're manifesting love, ask yourself, how would I move through this moment as someone who is deeply loved? You're getting ready in the morning. How would you get ready as someone who is loved? Would you rush? Would you criticize yourself in the mirror? Would you throw on whatever clothes? Or would you take care? Would you choose something that makes you feel good? Move with a softness towards yourself. The loved version of you treats themselves with love. So get ready that way. You are cooking dinner for yourself. How would you cook dinner for yourself as someone who is cherished? Would you throw together something quick and joyless? Or would you prepare something nourishing? Set the table nicely. Light a candle even. You might be alone that evening, but light a candle. The loved version of you does not wait for somebody else to make them feel worthy of care. They give themselves that care. So cook that way. And if you're manifesting health, ask yourself, how would I do this as someone whose body is strong and vital? You're climbing some stairs. How would you climb them as someone healthy? Would you drag yourself up out of breath, heavy, or would you move with ease, feeling your legs work, grateful for the strength that you do have? The healthy version of you trusts their body, so you climb that way. You are choosing what to eat. How would you choose as someone who's vibrant? Would you grab whatever is convenient and numbing, or would you choose something that energizes your body, makes you feel good and healthy? The healthy version of you makes choices that honor their body. So choose that way. This is a secret. You don't wait until you have the thing to act like the person who has it. You act like the person who has it now in every small moment that you can, and reality will catch up with you. Because here's what happens when you do. Your nervous system starts to believe that when you drink your coffee slowly with presence, your body feels this is what abundance feels like. When you walk through the park calmly, noticing the beauty, your body feels that this is what security feels like. When you treat yourself with care, your body feels that this is what being loved feels like. And your body doesn't know the difference between doing the thing and being the thing. It just knows the state that you are in. So when you bring the state into ordinary moments, you're training your nervous system to live there. Not for 5 minutes in the morning, but all day. And that's when manifestation becomes inevitable. because you are not someone who visualizes abundance for 5 minutes and then spends the rest of the day acting from lack. You are abundant in how you drink your tea, your coffee, in how you walk, in how you speak, in how you rest. This is what I mean when I say state regulation. This is real work. And when you do this consistently, manifestation, it stops being mysterious. It starts to become predictable because you no longer are accidentally manifesting from whatever state life triggered you into. You are deliberately instead manifesting from the state that you are consciously choosing to occupy. And this is why I teach state regulation throughout the day. It's not techniques, it's not affirmations, not rituals, because the real work is staying coherent when life tries to pull you back. And here's what happens when you master this: manifestation no longer stalls halfway. They no longer go in reverse. It no longer fades away because you're no longer leaving the state that creates them. You might drift, but you notice quickly and you return. And the more that you practice this, the less that you drift. And eventually the state becomes who you are, not something that you have to remember to occupy. And when that happens, effortless manifestation becomes your natural way of being. This is the goal. Not to manifest one thing, but to become the version of you for whom your desires are natural. When you understand this, then manifestation stops becoming something that you do. It becomes something that you are. And if you're new to my channel, then I strongly recommend that you watch my other videos in order. Each video builds on this understanding step by step, so nothing feels confusing or overwhelming. Some of the first videos explain why emotional state creates reality. The second teaches you how to regulate that state. The third video shows you the quantum mechanics behind why this works. The fourth video gives you the identity shift process. My fifth video ties the practical daily application. Each video builds on the previous one. This channel exists because too many people were being taught to repeat words and imagine pictures while their inner state remained unstable. And then they blamed themselves when it didn't work. You are not broken. You were just never taught the full mechanics. Most teachers tell you what to do, but they never explain why it works or how to maintain it when life gets difficult. And that's what manifestation mechanics is all about on this channel. It's about understanding the actual structure underneath so you can apply it reliably, not just hope that it works. I'm going to finish my tea now. My name is Dion Goldsmith. This is Manifestation Mechanics. And if this video resonated with you, if you've been experiencing exactly what I described, if you've had manifestation start and then stop and you didn't understand why, then leave me a comment, let me know. Tell me what you are manifesting and how it happened when it stalled. Because I do read every comment, and understanding your specific situations helps me create content that addresses exactly what you need. In the next video, we're going to go even deeper. We're going to go into why manifestations stall halfway and how to remain in this state for long enough for reality to fully reveal what is already on its way. Because here's the truth, it is already on its way. Your state is your creation. Your identity is your destiny. And when you learn to occupy state consistently, reality has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Not someday, not eventually, but faster than you think. And I'll see you in the next video.